Hey, everybody, welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello, and today we've got Daniel Gomez on the show. Daniel, welcome.
Hey, Chris, what's going on, man? I've been looking forward to this interview. Thank you for having me, my friend.
Likewise, and I'm amazed at how much energy you have because you just told me you already did several podcasts today, which is great. I mean, I think podcasting just gives you more energy, right? Like the more you do, the more energy you get.
Well, I love adding value, man. I think most people, they do it for the wrong reason, but I really lead with value and heart. And I'll tell you what, man, it just, the whole reason I started my whole journey was my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, man. And just, I decided to leave my corporate job and take care of her. And I was pretty selfish. I realized I had to change things around. And once I decided to do that, I committed to changing and improving. And now I lead with value, man. So I'm going to bring some energy. So I'm honored to be here. And man, whatever you want to ask me, shoot away, because I want to definitely add some value to your audience, man.
Thank you.
I was reading some reviews, and you definitely bring value. So I'm honored to be here, man. Thank you so much.
It's great to have you. And you're already leading with value for everyone listening because like you said, I mean, you're in it for the right reasons. Whenever you have the wrong reasons to do something, people can tell if you're just in it for the money or you're just trying to close another deal or you're trying to start a podcast and make money versus adding value. So thank you for that. That was a nugget right off of the bat. And I was reading through your bio. I mean, you've accomplished quite a bit and you've shared a little bit right there as well about quitting your job to take care of your wife. And you're an award-winning keynote speaker, business coach, executive coach, corporate trainer, and podcast of the year recipient. And you've spoken at events and you've also coached at events all across the world, which of course maybe now is more digital with everything going on. You're also the international best-selling author of You Were Born to Fly. And I love this part here in your bio. It says Daniel's high energy and ability. I was like, yeah, you definitely got high energy. An ability to unlock untapped potential in people have made him a highly sought out speaker and trainer for top organizations, including the U.S. Air Force. So you've done so many things. And then you and your wife, Marie, you believe in giving back and support women whose lives have been impacted by breast cancer through your 501c3 nonprofit, the Marie Strong Foundation. And you are a true professional, easy to work with. I can see that already, man. So I'm excited once again to have you here. I love it,
man. Well, thank you. I'll tell you what, you never know what's going to happen in life, but you can definitely control the way you react to situations. And so many times adversities come our way. And when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, it wasn't like, why me? It's like, why not me? My wife led with that saying, and we just kind of stuck with it. That was our motto. And not that you want your wife to have breast cancer or anything, but it's one of the best things that happened to our family because it really brought us closer to God. It grounded us as a family and it brought a lot of healing. So it was definitely, and I wouldn't be here talking to you if it wasn't for it.
Yeah, it's crazy how things work out. And thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's very powerful. I can just tell right off the bat. I mean, you and your wife sound like you're very positive and optimistic. And in the frame of reference, instead of saying, why me, why not me? Like I can carry this torch and show people that you can, you won't be impacted by this negatively. You're still going to show up. You're going to impact the world positively. You're going to make a difference through your foundation and everything like that as well. So how long ago was that for the timeline? Like when did you quit your job to take care of your wife? And when did you start the podcast and everything?
Actually, it was 2017. It was 2017 of September that she got diagnosed. So it'll be 4 years here coming up in a couple of months.
Okay.
And man, it just got the phone call and
changes everything, huh?
Yeah, you figure because you got money in the bank, your house is paid off, you got everything squared away. And man, I didn't realize as I went home, I didn't know what we were going to do, to be honest with you. I just remember God said, man, I've always been here. You've just been quiet. You've been ignoring me. You've been running from me. And my wife made a decision to have a double mastectomy. And after she did that, she got depressed on me because you go from a C cup to no cup. So she was changing her blouses every, 3 or 4 times a day, man. And it just was like, either hire somebody to take care of her or me myself. And I knew I had to man up and do it. But I didn't realize the transformation that was going to happen to me afterwards, after I resigned. The more I looked in the mirror, the more I was like, I didn't like who I was, man. I was real arrogant, real cocky. The automotive industry had been very successful for me. Rolexes, Corvettes, Mont Blancs, people taking me to the best penthouses in Vegas.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, man, it's fun, but it doesn't bring fulfillment and bring true joy sometimes, man. And I didn't realize how empty I was at a deeper level. So man, I had to get connected back to God, and it saved me. Literally saved me, because I don't know where I'd be today, to be honest with you. And took care of my wife, and I had no idea what I was going to do, but just started marching forward, man.
That's powerful. And I'm kind of right there in terms of understanding, like I'm rereading the 4-Hour Workweek. I just held it up to the camera before we hit record. And there's a lot of lessons in that book. I don't know if you've read it, but it talks about like the new rich is more about buying yourself time and freedom. and having control of your schedule. Like money is no longer the thing that everyone's aiming for because there's so much more to life than just that. And for all we know, I tell people this all the time. I joke with my mom, like, I'm young, healthy and everything. I just turned 30 last year, but like I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. So I'm going to YOLO it today. Like I mentioned, you got to do everything you can and live life to the fullest. So you did automotive sales before you quit your job. Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, I ran a dealership for many years. I ran a Chevrolet dealership, then I ran a GMC dealership. And when I was working at the GMC, that's when I resigned from the GMC dealership. So my goal, I was saving up money to buy a car dealership, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And because I had that little nest egg, I left, but I didn't, I never touched it. I just really said, it was tied up and I said, I'm not going to take it out. It's on me. It gave me motivation to really go out there and do this, because I think too many people start that entrepreneur journey. And I hate it, right? It's like my clients, they make excuses, or potential clients make excuses. I'm like, dude, or woman, whatever, right? Mr. Miss, get away from the excuses. Yeah, get away from the excuses. Well, no, you don't understand. My kids, I'm like, look, time out. Look, I'm going to tell you the fact. How bad do you want it? I started my business when my wife had a double mastectomy, 6 major surgeries, reconstruction surgery, you name it, radiation, everything. Like, what's your excuse? My son was in college. I couldn't pull him out. It's like either you man up, you go out there, or you woman up, you go out there and you do what you follow your heart, or you either do it or you don't. And I think too many people, we make excuses A, and then B, we try to make the perfect plan, and then perfection kills dreams. Let me say that again, perfection kills dreams. And you don't have all the answers. And as I just kept walking forward, I just realized that God was unfolding his plan for my life. And I had no idea where I was going, to be honest with you. I had an idea, I had a concept, I had a dream in my heart. But as far as, don't judge me on this, but I'm laughing, right? Because it's like, business plan? I don't need no business plan. You know how many people how many businesses have a business plan?
And they fail.
And still 90% of them fail.
I'm right there with you. I didn't have a business plan. I was like, oh, I'm smart. I'm going to work for myself. I can figure this out. Right. I mean, it sounds like you had a lot of success before in your automotive career as well. And I mean, like I know, and like, a lot of people, especially in those like sales charged environments. I'm in real estate, for example. I've had my real estate license and I've done off market, like wholesaling stuff. And it's a very competitive. I have friends in the medical sales field. People are high energy, but they also like to party, work hard, play hard, parties, booze, alcohol, who knows, maybe drugs involved. And it's very easy to get caught up in that lifestyle, which it sounds like, I'm not saying, I don't know what you did over there or anything, but I know you said Corvettes, flashy, like the Mont Blanc pens and the Rolex. But then it's like, okay, you got the Rolex. Now there's another Rolex you want, or a faster Corvette, right? My friend got the new Corvette and I'm like, yeah, it's cool. It's 0 to 60 in like 2.8 seconds or whatever. I hit it on the launch, but I had fun with it. But then I got back to my Honda Accord and I'm like, like this is paid off. I'm happy with it. Like, I don't really care to have another car. It did feel a lot slower when I was driving it, but that's the message, man, that I think my audience really needs to hear is like, what's important to you, like your family, your friends, the here and now, right? I mean, the stuff, you can always get more stuff. You can always make more money. You can't create more time with your friends and family.
Yeah. Well, the thing is this, like I mentioned, when you deal with value, the money's going to show up. Absolutely. I had no idea what I was going to do. This is a dream that God put in my heart. I want you to be a motivational speaker. So what do you think Hispanic, me saying, hey, I'm going to leave my $250,000 job and I'm going to go and I'm going to be a motivational speaker. They laughed at me. And they laughed at me.
Well, people won't understand. Like, they're like, well, you're seeing success here. Why would you ever leave?
You know what pisses me off even more? And it does piss me off when they give you that like pat on the back.
Gives
like
you the chip on the shoulder too, right?
I'm not no puppy. Don't give me that like sympathy. That sympathy hug. I'm like, I ain't no dog. So it drives you, man. And the people that support you in the beginning, your audience needs to understand this, is that when you have a dream, the dream is for you. It's not for anybody else. And people are going to support you in the beginning up to a certain extent. But then once you pass up their level of success and they're like, oh, sheesh, Daniel is doing pretty good. Oh, wow, Daniel spoke with Tom Bilyeu in California. Oh, wow, Daniel spoke with Alex Stern. What? Daniel was with Les Brown.
That's awesome, yeah.
And they're like, what?
They're like, oh, I'm not going to make fun of him anymore. Like, he's a real deal.
And then they start saying, oh, now you think you're all good. It's because they have that limited belief system with them, right? They call it the BS, right? The belief system that needs to change because it ain't serving them.
Yeah.
But remember this, if anything, your honest takes away to this is that people are going to criticize what they can't duplicate. Let me say it again. People will criticize what they can't duplicate. And as you're going up that ladder, the higher you go, you know what, the more they're going to criticize you. And it's okay because they just can't duplicate what you're doing. And if you don't have any naysayers, if you don't have people talking about you, that means you're doing something wrong. Because the moment you start doing something right and you're going up the ladder, get jealousy and envy sets in, man.
It's so true. And the thing is too, once you start to expand your circles, like I had a lot of the friends at that lower vibration, lower energy, that jealousy, they don't really want you to win. They kind of say congrats, but they're kind of salty about it. But as you get to those higher levels, I'm sure you've seen this as well. You start to interact with people who are successful. Like it's almost like the secret to success is just genuinely, like you said, adding value first of all, but also truly wanting other people to win and helping them out however you can, because it's like the higher level people I meet, the more amazing and giving they are. They're not selfish. They're not jealous. They're not trying to secretly hope that you lose. I don't know if you've noticed that as well as you start to raise your circle.
My total circle is different. I call it my playground, right? Who you allowing to play in your playground? Who's in your playground? Who's on your swings? Who's in your merry-go-round? Right? And most of the time we got the wrong people there, man. We got the people that how can I say this? Like you just said right now, right? The sex, drugs, and rock and roll is kind of what you said. Those people ain't going to get you where you're going. And my Harley friends, even though I love them, that wasn't the people that were going to get me to the next level in speaking. And then that wasn't going to get me. So most people fail. And I truly believe this, 90% of entrepreneurs fail because I went through this struggle, because I cried. I have a quote that says, you're not a true entrepreneur till you're 99.9% sure you're going to give up and you're crying in the bathroom, but you don't. Think about that. You're 99.9% sure that you're going to give up. You're crying. And I'll admit I was crying, but you don't give up. That's how close I was. And the moment you get to that point, the moment you realize that you have to turn the back on your old life, you have to turn your back on your old life. And not that you're better than anybody else, but the fact is this, is that you got to push those people to the outer circle and you got to make space and place for the new. And most people don't make space and place for the new. That's why they fail within that first year, 90%, and the next year, the next 90%, because once they get that, and then they rubber band back to what they're comfortable with, and nothing can kill your dream also, right? Besides perfection kills your dreams, commonality, because you always gravitate to what's familiar, and you have to turn back on your old life. And I'll tell you, I look at the associations that I have now, right? I think about the five that I had before, my five closest: beer drinking buddy, beer drinking buddy, beer drinking buddy, beer drinking buddy, club buddy,
Xbox buddy.
I'm being real, right?
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you got millionaire, multimillionaire, jet ride millionaire, and it's like, dude, like it's a no brainer. And you gravitate towards the people that you want to become, and then there's another level after that I'm finding out now. Right now, I can say no to things. Before, I was trying to get on the plane and just get on the ride, right? Because you were born to fly. But people don't realize that now, as that next level of success goes, okay, well, are you going to live according to your values? And I'll tell you, Chris, I really struggled this past 6 months because my values, it's just that message has been coming out in my business. And a dear friend of mine, also, his name's Chris, and he always talks about values, and I would listen to him. I'd be like, dude, like, okay, I hear you, right? But like the more I listened to him, I'd be like, I started saying like, does this line up with my values? And sometimes it wouldn't. And actually, today I fired a coaching client. I said, you know what, it ain't gonna work out. I'll refund you your money, and I don't need your money. I don't.
That's the best feeling when you get to that point, because at first, I've talked about this on previous episodes. You're when you're at that crying phase and someone's like, okay, I might work with you. They're not the best client for you. You can just tell it's going to be a pain to work with them, but you still take them on because you don't have the money and you see the paycheck, right, that you can potentially get. But it's such a freeing feeling when you get to that level, because I'm there now too, where, I talk to someone and they're just negative, or they're kind of like talking down to me, like thinking I'm going to go do all this stuff for them. And I'm like, I don't need your money either, right? It's such a good feeling to say, hey, I don't think we're going to be a good fit. If you want a referral, I could recommend you to somebody, but like, I wouldn't recommend you to a friend because you don't seem like a fun person to work with, right?
Yeah. When you live by your values, you're able to do that. And it just really,
absolutely.
I never thought, not that you don't never think, like I said, right? We're never going to have all the answers. No one's going to have all the answers, Chris. Right. But as you continue to progress and go higher, you start to realize, okay, well, right, you're thinking long-term now. So maybe I need to really pay attention to what my friend Chris is saying about values. And he's right? He is right. But not that I wasn't paying attention, but it's just that now it's like, I base my decisions more based on that. Do I really want to work with this person? I see this person. And me, like, I love praying, man. And it's like, I had a client that says, well, are we going to pray all the time? I was like, I pray with all my clients. Maybe I'm not the coach for you.
Right. No, that's cool.
And it's just one of those things, man. But I love people and I try to help people out. But, there's always a grace. But you definitely have to realize, like, what is it that you want? And you have to let go. I remember that journey, that my first year, that there was really like a 6-month journey, man, that I was lonely. I mean, I'm going to be honest. And most entrepreneurs don't make it past that journey, that 6-month journey, right? They start with the dream, the vision.
Everyone's excited at first.
And then the struggle. And then the struggle in the middle, that's when most dreams die. And if they would have held on a little bit longer, that first big victory, right? There's never the ultimate victory, but that first big victory is going to be like, I can see myself doing that.
Yes.
And I held on long enough to taste my first big victory. And for me, that came in the summer when the United States Air Force called me and says, hey, can you come and train us and speak for us? And I'm like, who's this? They're like, yes. And I said, so-and-so, Sergeant Major, some long name. I'm like, no, really, who's this? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, really. Like, how did you find me? Oh, we Googled leadership, sir, and your name came out, and we saw your videos. We went to your website, and we were interested in coming to speak to us. And I was like, where are you at? And then they told me the name here in Lockdown Security. I was like, dude, this is legit. I was like, well, so then I had to play reverse psychology, right? He was like, well, why don't you come see the auditorium? We just invested over $300,000 in it. And if you like it, you can speak there and see what you think. So I show up and I'm like, inside, I'm like, hell yeah, all right. I'm like, well,
but they just think that you're just like doing this regular thing. Like you're used to this, but deep down you're like, oh my gosh, like this is awesome. Heck yes, I'm going to do this.
And I told my wife, hey, you gotta stay home. You gotta come record it. And she took off and we kind of bootlegged it, right? Because people don't realize the iPhones of today.
Great camera.
I don't know what show it is, but they film it with the iPhone. I think it's Modern Family is filmed with an iPhone. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I did not.
So that's how high quality an iPhone is. So we filmed it with the iPhone, and that was my level. That was my breakthrough, man. And the rest is history from there, as God says.
That is so cool, man. And I mean, we all have, every entrepreneur listening to this, if you've had that first sale or that first client who works with you, we've all been there. I was just talking about this on a Facebook Live yesterday, I think, because like I had a first point where I felt bad, like taking a client on. I was like, man, this person doesn't know they're my first client. Like, I'm not going to tell them that they're my first because then they might not work with me. So you just take them on and you do as good of a job as you can. And then as you do that more and more, you start to speak more or you help more clients with whatever the problem is that they're having, you get more confidence, right? So I'm sure by the 5th or 6th time you did that, it became more routine. Like, okay, I know what I'm going to start with. I know which jokes resonate with the audience. What part of my story makes the most sense, depending on who's in the audience too.
Well, it's always evolving. I think if you were to tell me today when COVID hit, it's like I lost like almost $40,000 in paid speaking gigs.
It just stopped, right?
Because 90% of my revenue in my first year and a half was speaking engagement, right? I did well. I didn't realize it because I thought everybody was doing it because you don't know. Because I wouldn't really compare myself. But then when that happened, it's like God said, start your podcast. And I'm like, podcast? But I had been practicing, right? I had bought, and this is just my little podcast. I bought this and I've just been using it. I do some Facebook Lives and, Daniel Gomez, DTV or whatever, just have fun with it. And he goes, start your podcast. I'm like, well, who's going to listen to my podcast? And I ignored it, right? He goes, I told you start your podcast. I just started my podcast, man. And then next thing you know, I said, hey, I'm going to start a podcast. You want to be my guest? Dude, of course. And then like right off the back, I got some epic people. I got Tony Watley from Houston. I
know Tony. Yeah.
Yeah. I got Alex Stern from Constant Contact co-founder.
Wow.
Sean Douglas. So it's like, man, let's do this. So one thing led to another. And since then we had Evan Carmichael, Forbes Riley, Mark Victor Hansen. And next thing you know, we were nominated for Podcast of the Year. And people come on my show and they're like, hey, I'm like, yeah, well, we're doing this. Well, I want to be part of it. I'm not even trying to pitch anybody. And next
they just want to be part of it.
Yeah, we start generating revenue out of that. And then the next crazy idea came out was God says, well, start your speaking academy. I'm like, speaking academy? I'm like, I don't want to start no speaking academy. So I told my publisher, I said, hey, man, I go, I got an idea. What do you think? I go, God put this in my heart. He goes, what? How about the Sticker Shock Speaking Academy? Let's do it. And dude, while nobody was having, and you know this because you were in Houston, nobody was having live events, and Texas was the only state open. So during July of last year, we had 22 speakers come in from all over the country, and Sticker Shock was born. Highest generating revenue as far as revenue goes, and just the whole thing. It carried us for a big part of the half the year, but that gave us momentum to right. You get these wins, and you stack your wins with the podcast, with
Yeah.
this, and then next thing you know, people ask you for coaching, and my intention was to really be a coach, but then it's like I knew business, right? Because I ran dealerships, I understand financial statements, and then I'm like, they're like, why don't you do that? I was like, I don't know. And then people said, hey, can you help me with this? And I would go to these brick and mortars, and you and I both know this. I don't care how good you are. If you don't have sales in a bakery, in a coffee shop,
You need
anything you
sales.
do, and most of these businesses don't have sales processes in place. So they were hiring me to build your sales process, follow-up system, how to close, and just how to generate revenue and market. And most of these people don't know how to do that. So that's kind of what evolved last year. And then this year, the guy says, well, start podcast launching. And I'm like, podcast launching? I don't want to do that. But it's like, why not? Like, I don't want to say it's easy money, but it's like when you enjoy what you do, it's fun. And like the clients that we've had to onboard, right? We're doing course creation on. So we're creating courses for coaches because most of them don't know how to do it. They don't know how to charge. They undercharge. And then we're doing podcast launching. And I'm like, I'm really enjoying it because I'm seeing like, wow, like I was lost like you. And if I can help you, I'm going to help you. That's what brings me joy now, man. And it just seems like it's beautiful when you're able to give with really not realizing you're giving, sometimes you just think what you're doing. And I don't say that in a dumb way, or I say
it just sounds fun.
I just say it like, it's like, sometimes we don't realize, Chris, how much, when you really lead with your heart and value, how much of an impact you're making in people's lives. And I think sometimes if I need to improve on something for myself, it's like, I really make a difference.
Man, that is so true. Someone just called me last week. Literally, I saw his name pop up, and we've met up twice before, like even way before COVID. So I barely know him, but we met 2 times through real estate events or something like that. And it turned into a 30-minute conversation. And he said just that. He's like, hey, I wanted you to know, like, you're really inspiring me. And I know you probably don't even know this, but I've been watching your stories and seeing your posts, and it's pretty incredible, like all the stuff that you're accomplishing. Congrats on the podcast. Like my podcast just passed 1 million total downloads. So I was super excited about it. But that was a great reminder because, you see the people who watch your story and you kind of don't think much, like, okay, they watched it, whatever. But you don't know that maybe they went and worked out that day because they saw that you worked out. Or maybe they're starting their podcast because they just saw that the podcast that you started passed a certain milestone. And so it's great to get those reminders. And at the same time, like I talked to him for 30 minutes without expecting anything. I'm sure you do this with many of your clients and friends. And I don't care if I get money out of that. I'm not expecting like him to work with me in the future or give me a referral. But because I came from that contribution, I bet 2-3 months from now, he's going to be like, hey, Chris, here's someone who wants to buy a house or sell a house. Here's their contact information. I told them you were the guy to go to. It happens all the time. Do you see that as well in your business? Like the reciprocity, it just comes back, the law of attraction and abundance and all those things?
So I'm going to be honest with you, right? Now I see it. At first I didn't see it.
At first you don't see it when you're like, you're trying to get that dollar.
And the reason I say that is because I do a training I do a training for entrepreneurs called Kill the Employee Mindset.
I love it.
But for myself, I had to kill the salesman mindset because the automotive stuff.
You want to close.
Because in the automotive industry, right? You got one shot, you close them, and there's no right. You're like a pit bull, you don't let them go. So I learned pretty quickly, right? I think if I wanted to learn quickly, but I would say the first 6 to 8 months, I was transactional is a word I think I would say, and are you going to buy or not? Right? There wasn't no freebies, but as God touched my heart, said, hey, you got to shift here, move here, and now it's totally different. And now it's like people that you don't even think about. Like this one guy called me, goes, hey man, it's like, I want to hire you. I'm like, okay, like, sure. What's your price? Well, here. Okay. I'm like, and before I'd be like struggling with it. But it goes back to what you said, because people will call me and I'll pray with them or whatever. You end up staying on the phone with them for 30 minutes, an hour. And God sees that, right? So you reap what you sow, and it's a good place to be. And this first year, we had a record-breaking first quarter, but it goes back to because all those seeds we've sown, and people don't realize, right? I want your audience to get this: is you're a farmer, whether you're male or female, you're a farmer. And think about this: if a farmer doesn't plant any seeds, are they going to get a harvest?
No.
If they're a strawberry farmer and they don't plant any strawberry seeds, there's no strawberries, there's no corn. So if you're that farmer and you're not planting those seeds of help and serving and generosity to people in your business, then those sales ain't gonna be there. And not only that, the seeds you really got to sow are within yourself. And most entrepreneurs, they don't invest in themselves the way they should. They think they know it all, and then I don't need help, and they try to take shortcuts, and they don't bet on themselves. And what I mean by that, because you don't invest monetary in who you are. It's like, man, if I wouldn't have invested 40, 50,000 in who Daniel Gomez is, there wouldn't be no Daniel Gomez Inspires.
That's true. Wow. Important and empowering. I was going to like combine the two words there on accident, but important and empowering, because so many people, I love how you said, kill the employee mindset. That is something that you have. It's like, okay, I got to work and trade time for money, and then getting away from that. How do I add value and free myself from trading time for money and increase my value? And then as you start to see the wins, something that you mentioned there, how you like came across these ideas, and, you know, like God put these ideas into your mind that you're like, why not help people do that? One guy that I talked to recently, it was kind of funny because he said he'll play a game with himself sometimes. If he has a few hours, he's like, let me see if I can like generate $1,000 or like $2,000 by helping somebody or putting an offer out. And it's amazing how that happens. Like I had a client, for example, a real estate deal. You know, they kind of wanted to buy a house a year before, but then they kind of disappeared and they changed their mind. So I was like, you know, that sucks. And then they came back all of a sudden and they were like serious. They're ready to buy this house. They have a proof of funds. They had cash. From that point, a month later, it was a $20,000 commission. And if I had written them off thinking that they weren't serious, someone else would have gotten that, or they would have gone straight to a new builder. And that's an example of how, if you're open to it and you're creative and you also follow up a little bit, but you're giving, like, boom, you can just generate stuff out of thin air. But when you're in that scarcity mindset, when you first started, it's so hard, right? Like I had that thing like, no, I'm not making any money. No one wants to work with me. I can't pay my bills, you know,
Yeah.
credit card debt.
Well, I think this too. I think the biggest mistake that I made, and I think many entrepreneurs make, is you forget to have fun. You have to have fun.
You have to, which
And
is hard when you're not making money at first. You feel like you got to be working all the time, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, this is most entrepreneurs think being on Facebook and Instagram is working, and it's not. Like that's their perception of
Guilty.
They leave 9 to 5. They get into that entrepreneur the position, but the mindset isn't there. They still think like a 9 to 5, and because they're at Starbucks or they're at Panera Bread and they're on IG, and they're like, that's not. I mean, you gotta. Now it's the next level, right? Now I got to become that successful businessman or woman. And most people, they never gravitate to that next level of evolution, and they get stuck in that entrepreneur mindset, and it's not serving them because it has, right? They get in the entrepreneur position with the employee mindset, and they never evolve into that successful business.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever seen like the cash flow quadrant? I think Robert Kiyosaki has that book. There's employee, there's investor, or no, there's employee, self-employed, investor, and then business owner. I think,
yes,
something like that. But we all start off as that employer. Like most people start off as the employee, and then a lot of us create a job for ourselves. Maybe we quit our job to become an entrepreneur, and now we're working 80 hours a week in our own business that we created that traps us. The true goal is to get more into the investor in the business owner areas where you can separate that. You can have other people doing some of the work for you, and you get to do your highest calling activities, your best producing, you know, like you talking to your clients one-on-one. That's probably your favorite thing to do, not necessarily creating marketing on Facebook or creating flyers or whatever for another event, you know?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that people, if you don't outsource, you're not going to grow. You're not going to scale. You got to start outsourcing.
You can't do everything. We all do everything when we first start, right? How fast did you start to outsource? Like how soon?
You're going to laugh, but I think it just, there's different levels that you grow into.
You have to go through them, I think.
But for me, I think a big breakthrough came in, and I was outsourcing. But when we moved into the house that we have now, at our old house, we had a pool, and I would take care of the pool. And I enjoyed it. So when I got here, right, bigger house, bigger pool, jacuzzi, more complex, I could take care of it, right? So I was forcing myself to enjoy it, and it sucked. I didn't enjoy it.
Right. It's too much work.
And my wife goes, why don't you just hire somebody? I'm like, no, I can do it. And that was that scarcity mindset, right? It's a deeper level. And people make the mistake that, I don't think this way, but you
don't even know.
There's always a deeper level. And my wife says, dude, just get, and I'll tell you, no joke, I fought with that pool probably for like 2 or 3 weeks. And what I mean by that is, I don't know, somehow we had a barbecue and then it was rust in the pool and it just turned into a big old mess. And I was frustrated. And then my friend goes, dude, like, Daniel, how much do you charge an hour? And how much is the pool guy?
Like, what?
And that's for the month. But I was stubborn. I didn't want to let it go. And then I just finally said, you know what? It's the pool guy. He just left today. The best $155 I spent.
Yep.
Every month. Every month. I promise you. But that's part of growing into that. But I didn't see it because it wasn't part of my business, but it was taken away from my business because it was part of my home. Right. When I could have invested that time. Think about that. It was, just say 2 hours every Sunday. That's 8 hours a month. 8 hours times during the week. If I can apply that, that's huge. That's another day of making calls or just planting seeds, like I'm saying. But I didn't see it because it wasn't related to business. But even what you do in your personal life, it impacts your business. And I think many times we're blind to that and we don't see that, right? Like cutting your grass. I don't want to cut my grass. And not that it's below me, but it's just like, if I can pay somebody $60 or $80 to come cut my yard and it takes 2.5 hours, dude.
You bought yourself time back. Yeah.
Yeah. But most people won't make those small investments in themselves, but then they'll go pay those $200 for those Jordans or that for that purse. But they think wrong.
It's so fun when you start to shift your mindset to those types of things, because then you start to wonder, what else can I outsource? I remember before I even got into real estate, I was doing like what Gary Vee talks about, flipping stuff from garage sales. And I had a friend who wanted to sell a table, and I told her, hey, can you send me a picture of your table? I'll market it for you. I'll sell it for you. And I didn't even go to her place. I didn't take pictures of it. She sent me the pictures. I put it up on like Facebook Marketplace, Let Go, a few of those different sites. Someone wanted to buy it. I had them meet at her place to pick it up. And she just took a 10% cut since it was hers and she was there. And I made like $100 or $150 for like 20 minutes. I put the pictures up. I put a listing up. And that was a perfect example of like, probably the old me would have gone to her house, taken pictures, or maybe even taken the table and kept it at my house and all kinds of stuff. And then I skipped steps. I was like, I don't need to take pictures. She can send me pictures. I don't need to go pick it up. I'll send them to her.
Yeah.
And different levels, like you said. I love how you said levels, because different levels. Like, first of all, she didn't want to deal with it. She might have just thrown it away or put it by the dumpster. Now she made some money out of it, and I made some money out of it. So I really wanted to just dive in on that word levels that you mentioned, because you have to kind of hit your head against the wall a few times to realize, my time is better spent talking to more clients instead of cleaning the pool. I'm trying to like knock that into my parents' skulls right now, because they're always like cleaning the house, doing dishes. My dad's almost 70. I'm like, dude, you're too old to be cleaning the bathroom. Come on. Another.
and well, there's another thing with levels why many businesses fail.
Yep.
And the higher we go in success, you have to become it's a journey of becoming. And just think of a skyscraper. As you're going higher and higher as a skyscraper, right? If you have a 10-story skyscraper as to a 100-story skyscraper, the foundation has to be deeper and stronger. Do you agree?
Yes.
And most people don't deal with those issues that keep them from going deeper.
That's so true.
They carry resentment. They carry bitterness. They carry hatred, anger, unforgiveness,
jealousy.
And then they wonder why they sabotage themselves, because they get to that next level of success. And then I'll challenge anybody on this. I don't care who you are, right? Even a millionaire has a limitation, because that next level of being a decamillionaire blocks them, because it's that next level. They didn't deal with those issues. So that's why a lot of millionaires is like, they get to that level and then now they have the fear of losing the money. So the actions that they were taking to get to that next level, they stop doing it because the foundation isn't where it needs to be. So instead of becoming that next 50-story, 80-story, 100-story skyscraper, they get stuck at 20 and then they start collapsing. They didn't deal with, like you said, the jealousy, the traumas, and that crap. Well, I don't know if you remember, I'm a little bit older than you, but I never forget vividly on news, they had Britney Spears, right? She was like at the top of the world, and then Britney Spears flips out, right?
Yeah, I remember. Shaves her head. Yeah.
Why? Because she didn't handle the success. She didn't have the foundation, and she collapsed under her own foundation. And most entrepreneurs, they don't deal with the issues, man, and then they wonder why. And I'll tell you, I went through that buying this house. I never, we all have the dream and the aspiration to have the horseshoe driveway, have the waterfall, have it, and you get it, and they're like, oh well, yeah, you're creative, you're excited, but then after my mind was like, well, hold on, where's the 2-story house at? Where's my right coffee, right? Because your mind knows. Well, coffee was walk down the stairs, turn on your Keurig, and walk back up the stairs, and I got my coffee. So then it's like, well, where's my stairs at? Where's my coffee? Well, hold on. Well, maybe I don't belong here. And we don't realize that. And you got to work through that, man. That people don't realize that. And it's just a higher level of awareness, and then just really believing that you deserve it. And many people, they can receive a used car maybe, but if you give them a Bentley, they'll freak out.
That's so true. Man, you got to really grow to those levels because, I mean, that's an example is like the lottery, right? So many people who win the lottery, I don't remember the statistics, but the majority of them, they're like broke another, a year or two from then, they're broke because they didn't earn the money really. So they don't know how to manage the money. In the money management, if you make $1 million and you spend 2 million, you're still in debt, right? That's something that it really grows with you as you make a little bit, you spend a little bit, maybe you go into a little bit of debt, you figure out how to dig yourself out of it. You learned about cash flow. These are all lessons that I wish we learned in school, but we didn't really. I know geometry and stuff, but I don't know about how, cash flow. And so it is a journey of becoming. I wrote that down as well. You kind of get to the next level and then you got to learn a little bit more. And then you continue to the skyscraper building up. That's another great analogy that you mentioned.
And then most millionaires, most people that win the lottery, the reason they do that is because that unworthiness sets in. And then they start to sabotage themselves.
And they just blow the money. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why they end up killing each other. And I mean, if you think about it, you don't see the stories in the front lines because the lottery doesn't want you to see that. But there's a lot of people that take their own lives or they kill their spouse or crazy things happen. But it's because they don't have the capacity to handle that type of blessing. They don't have the character, the capacity. And then that undeservedness, that unworthiness sets in. And then that happens too. Because in business, right, you grow so quick. We've seen it. And hey, what happened to that guy? I see him all the time on Facebook.
Didn't make it. Yeah.
They can't handle it.
It is insane to see, but I think it's important to also realize like what's important to you, because I was just complaining about this to my Facebook a little bit. I didn't want to work for anyone and I didn't want to have to, I wanted control of my time. So I quit my job. I started this entrepreneurial journey. And now my problem is I have too much time where I'm bored. I'm like, what do? I have so many hours every day. Like I went skydiving, I went to the shooting range and I still have 10 hours and I closed a deal or whatever. So I'm looking for that fulfillment now. I'm kind of like, do I need to volunteer more? Or maybe I can get a part-time, like help a kid, be a mentor. I just need to do something. And so I think we're always going to face challenges, right? The problem that I have now, people are like joking who have day jobs still. Man, do you have any extra free time? Like that's a great problem. But when you get to this level, it's like, well, now I'm bored because my girlfriend, she just started a new job. She left today. I'm home alone with the 2 cats and the dog. What do I do all day? Like I don't know anybody. I just moved to Denver. I have nobody here that I know just yet. And so there's levels to it and there's growth, but I am grateful for technology to be able to connect with you today, for example, and just learn a little bit about your story. And I've jotted a few things down here too. Like I know you said perfection kills dreams. That's so true too. I wanted to highlight that because so many people, they're scared to start that podcast. They're scared to become a speaker, to quit their job because they're not good. And no one's good at the beginning. It takes practice.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it's just, you got to evolve and you got to evolve and you got to just evolve. And like I hear podcasters say, well, you got to get this, you got to get that. Dude, I still got the same mic that I used to practice with. And my client,
Me too.
was like, well, what do I buy? I'm like, let me, and
a mic and a camera.
I went back and I was on Amazon yesterday, do $39.95 with the arm. I'm like, just buy this.
Yeah.
Really? I'm like, I know a guy that spent $1,000 on a mic. I'm like, dude, if your interviewing sucks, you're not going to be good anyway. So what good is you do it? Right? If you're not making it fun, then I don't mean to be rude, but really you need to work on your interview. And when you're interviewing people, you need to work on making it fun for your guests and make sure you got the right guests. That's more important than spending $1,000 on the wrong microphone.
Absolutely. I've talked about that to another guest on my show. I think she was mentioning that, the audio for a podcast, okay, that may be a little bit important because people want to hear good quality audio. If they're listening to you and it's like choppy and they have to max out the volume and they can barely hear you, you're probably going to lose them. But other than that, even like the $10 headphones that have a microphone that plugs straight into your phone, you still need the quality content, which takes the practice, interviewing skills. That stuff's so tough, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when you started, did you ever have interview questions for people like that? I would write them all down and then I would be asking them, and it just didn't flow very well.
I just had a format. When I first started, it was really about confidence, consistency, and distinctive.
Okay.
That was kind of my format. And then as I kind of go along, one time we didn't even talk about none of those three. And
And you
it
had
was one
fun.
of it was one of the best downloaded ones. I was like, hey, it is what it is. Like today, I was like, yeah, it is what it is. But those are the ones where you have fun, and then you learn, right? You learn how to. I would study Oprah. I'd study Barbara Walters,
They're great interviewers.
how they kind of interviewed, and just made it fun and just interject you and try to teach a learning point. And then sometimes sometimes I just let the guests talk because they have that energy and they can carry it. It's like, you don't need me. By all means, it's about you. So every episode, I think if you listen to our show, it's a little bit different. But I think the main thing is focus on your interviewing and really just deliver great content to your audience. And there's time for. Somebody asked me this yesterday. Have you ever had a guest that you thought was going to be epic and then they flopped? I'm like, yeah, that too. What did you do? It's like, I didn't air them. It's not to be rude, but I'm going to dish out $100 per episode, do all this stuff. That's
it's got to be good.
Yeah, I mean, and it's nothing personal. It's just the fact that if the quality stinks and you have it on your Zoom email invite, hey, have a mic, have headphones, and you don't have that, well, then you don't respect my show enough to be prepared. Well, then, it's you still go through the process because I don't want to be a total butthead.
Yeah.
You never know what the quality is going to come out, but you got to be like, hey, if you don't if you don't respect the email that I send out, well, then maybe you're not the right fit for my show. And not that it's a bad thing. You're a great fit for somebody else's show.
Right. But also that kind of speaks to your level and your standards for yourself. Like, you're not going to just release it because you took the 1 hour to talk to them. Like, sure, you got to connect with them, but you're being honest because you're like, hey, my audience deserves better. This is the level of quality that I've committed to give them. And you already outlined the rules. So you're not even being mean or anything about it. It's like, hey, you recorded this outside on your phone and it was windy. Like, I can't air this, I think at a certain level, people understand as well, but I love that you're still going through it. You're not trying to be mean or a jerk about it. You're having the conversations, but you know what it is that you want to bring to your audience, and it's your show. You have a certain level of quality to maintain.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the main thing is that I love people, right? I say that over and over, and I really do. But sometimes it's like you got to set those. It goes to coaching too, right? You got to set those boundaries. And sometimes you tell people, "Call me if you need me. Like if it's an emergency, call me." And then,
don't call 5 times a day.
And then you get those that call 5 times a day. Like, hey, I respect it. I know I opened the door and I get it. But I learned real quickly, hey, call me if it's an emergency, right? Or call me if you really need me. But don't be calling me. Understand that. That I want to help people because people are so lost right now, Chris. And especially entrepreneurs, they're going out there and some of them, they're taking action. They're a young Daniel Gomez and they don't know, but they want to try. And they mean well. And those are the people I want to help. But when you're making the same mistake over and over and you're not listening to what I'm saying, I'm like, well, dude, like, I don't care what you do, right? I don't care if you make 10 different mistakes within a week, but if you make the same mistake 10 times within, we're going to talk about it, right? There's something wrong.
Yeah.
So I really give people the freedom to make mistakes because I make a lot of mistakes. Just don't make the same mistake again, because then we're going to have a conversation.
Right. Because if you're not learning, if you keep making the same mistake, you're not learning from that mistake. That's what that shows. So that's a very powerful tidbit right there because I also have that. I extend the invite all the time. Here's my link, book a 15-minute call to talk about anything. And then people will book it and then they reschedule it and then they cancel it. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to remove them from my email list so they don't ever book again because they clearly don't respect my time. I'm waiting for this interview and they cancel 20 minutes before for no reason. I'm like, all right, the invite's no longer extended to that individual. And maybe they don't even know that that's not respectful. Maybe I should tell them, I don't know. But some people they don't understand, like, when you're maybe they're thinking at that employee level, right? Oh, it's just an appointment. They're not thinking at that entrepreneur level of, hey, you're booking my time, segments of my life, which I'll never get back. And I committed to it. And now you're backing out 20 minutes before without giving me a good reason. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think you just you grow into that like everything else. And I would really tell your audience is that just really set standards, like Chris is saying, set standards for yourself. And I'm not saying be ridiculously picky. That's not what I'm saying, but set standards of how you want your graphics to look, set standards of how your sales process is going to go, set standards on how your customer service is going to be. And if you put a standard there, walk the walk. Don't talk about it, do it, right? Don't be a talker, be a doer. And so many people talk, Chris, and they don't do it. But you have to apply yourself and really walk out what you want to do. And if you have employees, you have to model that behavior that you want. I go into so many small businesses that they don't model that behavior. I'm like, well, whose fault is it? Well, what do you mean they have? I'm like, well, okay, this guy is all this, right? Yeah. Well, who hired him?
Yep.
Are you saying then that you have a bad character of hiring people? You don't have a bad judgment on that? Oh man, this guy got mad at me. I'm like, look, whether you fire me or not, I don't care because not that I don't care, but you hired me to come in here and improve this. I can lie to you all you want and tell you what you want to hear. Do you really want your business to grow? And sometimes you just can't, even though sometimes you got to let go of people. Sometimes you got to not hire the wrong people. Yeah. And most small businesses, they don't have the concept because they hire for the wrong reason, right? They hire to fill a need instead of really just hiring because that's the right person. And you can, and I want to say this too, right? You can hire based on, I would rather hire based on attitude than hire somebody with the right, like the most certified expert, because those people usually are know-it-alls and they're not teachable. I'd rather hire somebody that has a great attitude, that's coachable and teachable, that I can model them and show them my way, is to just having them think they know it all. And then next thing you know, they're a cancer to your small business. And especially when you have 5 to 10 people, it kills it.
Yeah. That's such a great point there, because if you hire for the talent and for the right mindset, the right attitude, you can train them on anything else. I mean, unless they're going to be rocket scientists, maybe they need a little more schooling, but like for most things, you learn on the job. But for those people, like you mentioned, even if they're good, that's the hardest part, because I've seen this in organizations before. They have a really good salesperson who's negative. They're closing deals. They're bringing in the most money. He's like the best sales guy on the team. But the team, the CEO finally had to fire that guy because he was always complaining. He was always questioning, decisions that the leadership made, thinking that it was stupid, thinking that the leads are bad. And that poisons the mindset of the rest of the team. So that was a great tip that you mentioned there, as well as just really hire for the right person. So what are your main focuses now for 2021 and beyond? I know since most things have gone virtual, are you doing a lot more of those speaking engagements? I know you're helping several clients. What would you say one of your main focuses are for this year?
Me and my wife were just talking about this because the whole business model just shifted. And
yeah,
even though I think I really love teaching speakers how to speak, I think how to get a paid speaking engagement. We had one of our students, actually 2 of them, Michelle Hoskins, came and she crushed it. She made $20,000 boom right off the bat, $5,000 paid live speaking engagement. And then Kalila Johnson made over $3,000 virtually. And it's just like, wow, like what's one thing when you do it or when other people do it? And I think that's really going to, it's like, so, my focus for myself kind of came off of it. I got a speaking engagement here, 2 of them coming up, but I love teaching people. And I think that my focus is going to be on my podcast, really growing that. Like I said, we hit top 60 internationally. So that was good. When I got that notification from Carnival, I was like, yeah, right. And I was just like, praise God. And it's just growing that. And then just whatever else comes in and really helping people live their dreams as far as launching their podcast with our team, doing the graphics, doing the editing. And then my first book, right? You Were Born to Fly. It's been coming up a lot lately. So I'm going to probably do a relaunch of that and really make it better, because I think people need to understand that you really were born to fly. And most people don't realize that. It's that I never did the Audible for it. So I'm going to challenge myself to do the Audible for You Were Born to Fly. And I think that's been on the top of my heart, because I have 3 books, but my first one's in my heart. I think when I was young, when I first wrote it out, it was good, but I think I can definitely improve it. So I don't know if I'm going to do the audio and just kind of add to it, or if I'm going to kind of redo the whole book. So I'm going to pray about that one, but that's in my horizon. Really, that's pretty much it. Is just continue to grow the podcast, Speaker Academy, help with the podcast launch, and then just add value wherever I can. And of course, my goal is to definitely, I love to speak in person. I hate virtual events, man.
It's not the same. People have their cameras turned off. Man, I feel you on that. I miss events. I'm actually flying to something in Oregon in May, like a real estate mastermind event for 2 or 3 days, small group, but I can't wait for them to get to start back up. I miss conferences and just, I'm a conference junkie in a way. Like I want to go to this. I want to go see that speaker in real life, not just on YouTube. So maybe I'll see you up there on a stage here soon once conferences start back up.
Yeah, man. We're having the Shift Growth Conference in Laredo, Texas,
Awesome.
We're bringing in Bill Walsh and we're bringing in Ryan Sincas from Mexico City. It's going to be awesome. So we're going to have 10 speakers coming in, a growth conference for life and business. And I'm excited what we're charging that, right? Going forward with that. So you just can't be scared. We had, because I'm an event planner, we had, I think 6 live events during COVID. And by the grace of God, we just had our women's conference because we have a nonprofit, like you read, the Mighty Strong Foundation. And we had over 120 women live, 10 speakers from all over the country. And nobody got sick. So you're like me, right? You're a hugger. You want to
I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger and a handshaker. Yeah. I still do it. Like, I'm kind of like, some people do the fist bump. If they put their hand out to shake it, I'm shaking their hand for sure.
Yeah, man. Well, I tell you what, it's been a great pleasure to be on your show, and thank you. And I have a gift for your audience. If they text the word confident, CONFIDENT, confident to 26786, that's the word confident to 26786. They'll get a copy of my training that goes with my book, a free training. I would sell that for $147. They get it for free. You were born, right? 7 days to fly daily, 7 steps to fly daily. And it's a powerful training that's going to definitely help shift their morning routine and get them going in the right direction. That's text the word confident to 26786. You'll get my 7 steps to fly daily program at no cost. Just my gift to your audience.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. I'm going to put that in the show notes as well. So for anyone listening, if you didn't catch that, you can rewind it, of course, or you can check the show notes to get that 7 steps to fly daily, you said?
Yeah, 7 steps to fly daily.
Awesome. I love that, man. Thank you so much. So confident to 76786.
26786.
I'm not wearing my glasses right now. My vision's been getting worse. So I did write down 2. I'll just put it in the show notes. Okay. But Daniel, it's been great having you on the show, man. I really enjoyed this conversation. Your energy for all the shows you've already done today, like you still brought the energy. I'm excited about that. Is there any last tidbit you'd like to leave with the audience or any message that's on your heart that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I want your audience to know this, right? Most people, they fail at this because of this. They don't feel that they're worthy and deserving, Chris. And I want your audience to know right now, you are worthy and deserving of success. You are worthy and deserving of being that multimillionaire. You are worthy and deserving of God's best. You weren't born to be mediocre. You weren't born to be average. You were born for greatness. You were born for success. And like my book says, you were born to fly. So stop living below your standards because you're not a second-grade citizen. You're a child of the Most High God. And if no one's ever told you they believe in you, this is Daniel Goins Inspire saying, I believe in you. Go out there and make it happen. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. And just know this, that greater is the power behind you than any task that's in front of you. And that is the power of Almighty God. Thank you for having me, my friend. I loved it. And you're amazing, man.
Thank you, Daniel. Likewise, it was great having you. Love the energy. Great message. And everyone make sure to listen to this podcast twice if you've got the time today. Thank you once again, Daniel.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.